Hello guys, it's Magic again. Um, just stopping in to talk about how we perceive things. We've all had some bad and good things happen to us, and we all perceive what has happened to us in different ways, and things that are occurring in the world in different ways as a result. See, we never really see things as they are. We see them from the perspective of who we are and what our past experiences tell us. That's why it's real easy for other people, like, to have completely different perspectives. Even, like, if they've gone through similar things, no two people ever walk the exact same path. And as a result, their perspective is going to be slightly different because their past experiences are slightly different. That's why some people who have like completely opposite experiences can perceive the same event in completely opposite ways. But even when our perspective is bad, we can work on it to change it when it is no good for us or is holding us back. I know for me that a lot of what holds me back is that I tend to still associate more with my trauma than I do the ways that I'm trying to improve my life because it's familiar. It's kind of like things become a comfort zone after a while. But with time, I should be able to work on that and get to where it no longer affects me the way it does currently. Now, with bad things, like, there's two things that we can do. We can either believe the lie that, well, bad things happen to me, so life is just out to get me, it's always going to be this way, or we can accept the truth that bad things happened and we didn't have control over it and fight for something better. A lot of people I know are much for the life's just out to get me, everything sucks, it's never going to get any better, which, when you hang around people, you become like they are. So largely, I think that's played a large part of my pessimism. But I've been working on improving my attitude and working to understand that, yeah, it happened, it sucked, but it wasn't my fault, and I didn't have control over it. Because honestly, you can't control what other people do. You can't make them not do those bad things. All you can do is control how you respond to it and whether or not you let it defeat you. In life, we all have lots of defeats, but we can't let life defeat us. My, and then, like, I think that with the good things, though, it's kind of like we either believe that God or the universe even has our back, or some people just think they just got lucky. My pessimistic friends who were always like, well, life's just out to get me and stuff, they're much for the, well, I just got lucky thing, or it's not gonna last, and they just stay down. But then I also know people who believe that the universe has their back. Not really sure if one's better than the other, but faith is good, whether you just have faith in a higher power, a God, or even just in the universe, karma, whatever, or even in yourself, because that's what'll get you through the bad times. We need to definitely cut out the anxiety in our lives. For me, what helps a lot is thinking about what good has come from the bad. For instance, when I got kidnapped, what was it, about 8 years ago? If that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have gone to college. I would have been probably getting a job, little apartment, trying to help raise my siblings, which, I still helped with, but because I didn't really think I was going to go to college. But then after I got away and was living with one of my friends, they helped enroll me in college, and I got to actually go, and now I have my bachelor's degree. Still need to finish my schooling, but it's progress. I've had a few bad relationships, but because of some of them, I have found some really good ones as well. If one of them hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have my son. And because of my past, I know I am strong and that I can survive anything. So I try to focus on these good points so the bad doesn't bring me down too much. Also, I try to believe more towards like distortion and truth because my past and the programming that it's caused inside my brain tend to distort the way I see things a lot. So I try to remind myself that I'm in distortion and to come back to truth. And whenever I'm having bad thoughts, I try not to think of them as bad. I try not to judge my thoughts because thoughts are just thoughts. They only become good or bad when we assign emotion to them. So I just try to let them flow, let them come and go. If they're bad, if they're negative, then I just try to let them just leave. If they're positive, then sometimes I'll try to reflect on them. Sometimes I'll reflect on the negative ones just to see why I'm having them, see if I can figure out what distortion is causing. The problem I had for a long time was I constantly blamed myself. Sometimes I still do that. But the problem with blaming yourself is that when you blame yourself, you cause yourself more shame. And you just keep creating this cycle of shame. When really, it's not something you should be ashamed of. I mean, you walked through it. You made it to the other side. Walking through the hard times is tough. I mean, whenever we blame ourselves, everything about it becomes how we were wrong, what we did, what we shouldn't have done, what we should have done. But that's not really the case. We weren't really wrong. We didn't really do anything to deserve it because there's a lot of bad things that happen that nobody really deserves, but they happen anyway. And blaming ourselves just makes us feel wrong, like we're not enough, like we're messed up or we failed. And we just keep creating the shame that shouldn't be there because, I mean, we survived. We should be proud of that. We made it to the other side. I mean, my son's joined me. He's kind of waking up this morning. It's not okay to believe that we are wrong, which is largely what shame does. It makes us feel like we are wrong. But a lot of my problem is that I'm so used to blaming myself because I've always had to that I don't really realize that I'm doing it. But and a lot of time what I blame myself for doesn't make sense, or the way I blame myself doesn't make sense, because it's like, okay, but why would that mean that this should happen? But I'm so used to it that to me it makes sense, and I don't even realize how silly it actually is. I also know people who blame the world. They think the world is evil and out to get them. But that's not really healthy either, because, I mean, the world's a big place, and there may be a lot of bad in it, but there's also a lot of good in it. You just have to look for the good. I mean, honestly, I think that there'd be better things for people to do than just to be out to get you specifically. So, all that really does is create a paranoia. And the world's not really out to get you. And when you believe that, you kind of live in a fear, a state of paranoia, like I said, and you just stop trusting anybody or anything. But both of these things can become habits or patterns, which means that it's not who you are, it's just the choices that you make, what you choose to do. The problem is that we tend to see our problem as permanent, and no situation is truly permanent. I mean, we do tend to lean that way, but I think it's because it more feeds into this negative belief that we have about ourselves somewhere in the back of our mind. This belief that our problems or our situation is permanent can keep us from chasing our goals. But honestly, what's the point in dreaming about a future if you're not even going to try to achieve it? another issue that we have is that there's a lot of, in today's society, there is a lot of victim blaming as well, which doesn't help. But we need to remember that no matter what people say about us or to us, that words don't really have any physical power. Yeah, they can hurt us, but it's not really the words that are hurting us. It's the way that we interpret them and internalize them and take it personally rather than looking at it for what it is, which is someone else's insecurity being pushed onto us. Other people don't have power over you. They don't get to choose how you feel. They don't get to choose how you think. They don't get to tell you who you are. That is completely up to you. That power belongs to you. Alright, that's it for this video. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and go out and spread the love.